are heating up in the desert. Raider Nation. Over the weekend, one of the biggest buzzes across social media wasn't about OTA standouts or free agent signings. It was about a potential blockbuster trade involving none other than Chris Olave. That's right. The explosive New Orleans Saints wide receiver is being linked to the silver and black, and the internet is running wild with speculation. Now, let's be real up front. There's no official word from the Raiders front office, no verified insiders confirming advanced trade talks. This isn't coming from Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport. But just because the source isn't rock solid doesn't mean we ignore it. The Olave to Raiders idea has caught fire, and when a player of his caliber is even loosely connected to Las Vegas, it's worth diving into. Why all the noise? For starters, Olave is a name that's been trending since he entered the league. Drafted in 2022 out of Ohio State, he immediately made an impact in New Orleans with his crisp route running, high-level speed, and deep threat capability. He posted back-to-back strong seasons to kick off his NFL career, and year 3 is typically when wide receivers really take off. So naturally, with rumors swirling about a possible trade, fans begin fantasizing about what Olave could bring to the Raiders' offense. It also doesn't hurt that during his draft process, Olave mentioned that he'd love to play for the Raiders, citing his brother as a fan of the team. That kind of personal connection always keeps the door cracked open just enough for speculation to creep in. But here's the thing, Raiders fans have heard this song and dance before. Wide receivers being linked to Vegas is nothing new. You've probably heard Amari Cooper's name pop up, or even Keenan Allen's. Every time there's a talented receiver potentially on the move, people throw the Raiders into the mix. Why? Because there's still this outdated narrative floating around that the Raiders are desperate at the position, that they need a number one guy. But if you've actually been paying attention to what this team has done in the offseason, you know that couldn't be further from the truth. Las Vegas has quietly built a wide receiver room that they're confident in. Maybe the rest of the league just isn't giving them enough credit. Jack B is someone the coaching staff believes has serious upside. Dante Thornton Jr. brings that vertical speed and raw athleticism. Kyle Phillips, Chip Kelly's very first recruit by the way, has been added for depth and savvy route. Running! Tommy Malone is making noise in the slot, and Trey Tucker? That guy's been tearing it up at OTAs. The front office and coaching staff see what they've assembled, and they like it. So from their perspective, bringing in a name like Olave might not be a priority. It might not even make sense, but the fans are still dreaming, and it's hard to blame them when a talent like Olave is on the market. Now, let's get into the meat of it. What would it actually take to land Olave in Vegas? If the Saints are reportedly looking for a day 2 pick, which means either a second or third rounder, then that's already a big ask. Don't forget, the Raiders already used a 3rd round pick on a quarterback. Are they really going to turn around and toss another premium pick for a wide receiver? Seems unlikely. And it's not just the draft capital. There's also the financial side to consider. This season, Olave would cost the Raiders roughly $3.3 million against the cap. That's not terrible. But New Orleans has already picked up his 5th-year option, which means whoever trades for him is on the hook for $15.5 million in 2025. So even though it's not bank-breaking, it's still a significant investment, especially if the Raiders aren't fully convinced he's the missing piece. If you're trading for Olave, you're not just doing it for 2 years. You're thinking long-term. You're thinking this is someone you want to extend, someone you want to build around. But then that brings up another question. How would that sit with the guys already in the room? What message does it send to someone like Jacoby Myers? That you're already looking past him? That you're willing to toss aside the chemistry you're building with your current core? That's the kind of locker room dynamic you have to consider before making a move like this, because you're not playing Madden. You're building a real team with real people and real emotions. But the biggest red flag, the thing that really makes this potential deal hard to swallow, is Olave's health history. We're not just talking about a few nicks and bruises here. Since 2020, he's had 5 documented concussions. 5. And if we're being honest, that number is probably higher. Ask any player who spent real time on the field, most concussions go unreported. So if we know about 5, there are likely more. And when you're trying to build an offense that prides itself on being physical, tough, relentless, do you really want to anchor your passing game around someone who might be one big hit away from missing significant time? It's hard not To think about what happened with Hunter Renfrow, a dynamic receiver, sure-handed, smart, and tough. But after multiple concussions, he just wasn't the same. The Raiders eventually moved on, and now he's looking for a fresh start. Olave could be walking down that same path, and that's a terrifying thought when you're considering giving up valuable assets to bring him in. Again, if this was a video game and we could just turn injuries off, Olave would be a dream fit. He could stretch the field, win on the outside, and bring another dimension to this offense. But in real life, you can't take that risk lightly, not when the consequences could derail your entire season. So yeah, when people ask, should the Raiders trade for Chris Olave? I get the temptation, I get the excitement, but I also understand why this front office might just say, no, thanks. It's not a knock on Olave as a player. The talent is undeniable. It's just that the risk might outweigh the reward, especially with the weapons already in place and the identity this team is trying to build. You want guys who are going to show up every Sunday, take hits, dish them out, and keep getting up. That's the Raider way. Olave, he might not be built for that grind, and that's okay. He can still be a great player in the right situation. I'm just not convinced that situation is in Las Vegas. That being said, the conversation isn't going anywhere. Fans will keep talking. Rumors will keep flying. And as long as Olave's name is even faintly connected to the silver and black, people are going to pay attention, because that's what happens when big names and big brands collide. It makes noise. But sometimes the smartest move is the one you don't make. And if you ask me, that might be exactly what the Raiders end up doing here. While everyone's been laser focused on Chris Olave trade rumors, there's another storyline unfolding that could quietly reshape the competitive landscape of the AFC. And yes, it involves Kirk Cousins. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, come on, what does Cousins have to do with the Raiders? Let me stop you right there. Because while Cousins might not be headed to Las Vegas, the ripple effects of his situation in Atlanta could directly impact the Silver and Black's 2025 season in more ways than people are realizing. This is not about Las Vegas trying to acquire Cousins. It's about where he ends up and what that means for the teams the Raiders will have to face when the real games begin. Let's start with the facts. On May 27th, reports surfaced that Cousins didn't show up to the Falcons' first OTA practice. That alone wouldn't normally raise red flags. Veterans sometimes sit out OTAs, but the whispers are getting louder. Word is Cousins isn't entirely sold on being Atlanta's long-term guy anymore. Maybe it's the arrival of rookie quarterback Michael Penix Jr. Maybe it's something deeper in the locker room or front office. Either way, the tension is there. And it's not just media chatter. When a high-priced veteran quarterback is a no-show and doesn't appear committed to sticking around, that sets off alarm bells. So what does that mean for the Raiders? Let's think this through. If Cousins stays in Atlanta, that's one less QB to worry about. The Falcons are in the NFC and they don't face the Raiders this season. But if he gets traded, especially to a team in the AFC, then where? Talking about a direct shift in competitive balance. And that's where things start to matter. Because there are at least 3 teams that could absolutely use a quarterback like Cousins right now, and all of them either play the Raiders or compete for the same playoff spots. The Browns, the Colts, and the Steelers, all 3 are in need of stability under center, and all 3 could realistically make a move for Cousins depending on how things shake out. Look at Cleveland. Their quarterback room is an absolute mess. Deshaun Watson isn't healthy, and even if he was, he hasn't exactly inspired confidence lately. Behind him, you've got names like Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, and Shader Sanders floating around. None of them scream franchise guy. If Cousins were to land there, suddenly that Week 12 matchup with the Browns becomes a whole lot more complicated. Right now, it's a game the Raiders can circle as a likely win. But you throw in a veteran QB like Cousins, someone who can manage the game, push the ball downfield, and execute in crunch time. That's no longer a gimme. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are swirling around the NFL, and the latest buzz centers on MAXX CROSBY, the dynamic edge rusher who has become a cornerstone for the Las Vegas Raiders. Rumors are heating up that Crosby is on the brink of signing a groundbreaking new contract that could catapult him into the elite tier of NFL earners. While nothing has been officially confirmed, insiders hint at a deal worth well over $100 million, potentially making Crosby one of the highest paid defensive players in the league's history. Since bursting onto the scene, Crosby has been a relentless force off the edge, terrorizing quarterbacks with his speed, power, and uncanny ability to disrupt offenses. His impact on the Raiders' defense has been undeniable, and his consistent production has made him a fan favorite and a nightmare for opposing teams. With such a resume, it's no surprise that the franchise is reportedly eager to lock him down long term, seeing him as a foundational piece for years to come. Sources close to the negotiations suggest that the Raiders are prepared to offer a contract that not only reflects Crosby's elite status, but also includes substantial guarantees and incentives tied to performance milestones. This move could mark a strategic shift for the Raiders, signaling their intent to build a championship-caliber defense around him. If true, it would also send a loud message across the league about how much value teams place on dominant defensive playmakers in today's pass-heavy NFL. Of course, the path to such a monumental deal is rarely smooth. There are whispers that talks have been complex, with agents pushing for terms that reflect Crosby's growing stature while the team carefully balances salary cap constraints. Still, the buzz is that both sides are motivated to reach an agreement fueled by mutual respect and the shared goal of sustained success in Las Vegas. For fans and analysts alike, the prospect of Crosby's mega deal adds an intriguing subplot to the NFL offseason narrative. Will the Raiders emerge as a team that can not only keep their star players, but also build around them to contend at the highest level? Or could this saga take unexpected turns with other franchises lurking in the shadows? Only time will tell. But for now, the chatter around MAXX Crosby's contract is one of the hottest stories in professional football. Stay tuned as this potential blockbuster deal develops. If Crosby indeed inks this historic contract, it could redefine what it means to be a defensive superstar in the modern NFL. The Raiders, the fans, and the league are watching closely, waiting for the next chapter in what promises to be an electrifying career. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.